Voting Keir Starmer, the UK Premier.
Yes, he's coming tonight.
What do you think of him? Some of his colleagues in government are quite critical of you.
Well, I'm going to see him in about an hour, so I have to be...
When Donald Trump was asked about Keir Starmer, his response made it clear that he has not forgotten some of the most scathing remarks directed at him by Starmer and the Labour Party. Over the years, Starmer and his colleagues have labelled Trump with a variety of disparaging epithets, including sociopath, tyrant, racist, and sad little man, among others. These inflammatory comments have undoubtedly set the tone for their strained relationship. And now, it seems that Keir Starmer is facing the consequences of his past actions. Trump, a man notorious for harboring grudges, has made it abundantly clear that he will seek retribution. While one might expect a more diplomatic stance from Trump as he embarks on those early stages of his presidency, his comments suggesting that Starmer is a good person ring hollow, for it is well understood what his true intentions are. Trump's decision to exclude Starmer from his inauguration, an event that saw other international leaders, such as Italy's Prime Minister, invited, deliberately breaks with tradition and serves as a pointed rebuke. The central question now is, how has Keir Starmer managed to lose Trump's favor so decisively? What are the implications of this snub? And how does Trump intend to handle him moving forward? In this video, we will delve into the full story. Starmer, perhaps arrogantly, believed he could mock, dismiss, and openly defy Trump without any serious repercussions. He assumed that given Britain's status as America's closest ally, the so-called special relationship would persist regardless of the leadership in the White House. However, Trump operates by a different set of rules, a man who holds on to grievances and is unwavering in his willingness to exact revenge. Now, Starmer is learning the hard way that he grossly underestimated the consequences of his actions.
But for the liars and cheaters and fraudsters and censors and imposters who have commandeered our government, it will be their judgment day.
From being deliberately excluded from Donald Trump's inauguration to facing the prospect of economic repercussions, Keir Starmer's government is now grappling with the stark reality of Britain's diminishing influence in Washington. The Labour Party spent years ridiculing Trump, labeling him as a racist, a menace to democracy, and a political buffoon. Yet, the tides have now shifted, and with Trump firmly in control, he shows no signs of extending any forgiveness for the years of disparagement. As a result, the government of the United Kingdom is witnessing, with increasing alarm, the rapid erosion of its once prominent standing in American political circles.
Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologise for making derogatory and scatological references, including, and I quote, Trump is not only a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath, he is also a profound threat to the international order. And if he did not apologise, will the Prime Minister do so now on his behalf? Given that most of his cabinet signed a motion to ban President Trump from addressing Parliament, will the Prime Minister show that he and his government can be more than student politicians by asking you, Mr. Speaker, to extend an invitation to President Trump to address Parliament on his... Sound like he wants to invite President-elect Trump to Parliament. He needs to look after the special relationship. The US is our single biggest trade partner. Given the risk of increased tariffs on UK exports, which threaten our manufacturing sector, will the Prime Minister commit now to continue the negotiations on our free trade agreement with the US, which the Biden administration cancelled?
It is crucial to understand that Donald Trump's animosity towards Keir Starmer is not merely a matter of political rivalry. It is deeply personal. The Labour Party, in a move that Trump perceives as unforgivable, sent activists to the United States to campaign for Kamala Harris, engaging in direct interference with a US election. This was not a simple matter of public political commentary or expression. Starmer's Labour Party actively worked to undermine Trump's re-election bid. In response, Trump did not hesitate to announce his intention to pursue legal action against Labour, condemning their involvement as a flagrant violation of the principle of non-interference in American politics. This unprecedented interference has only intensified the personal and political rift between Trump and Starmer, a rift that is unlikely to be bridged anytime soon.
We start in the US, where Donald Trump's presidential campaign has made a legal complaint against the Labour Party here for what it claims is illegal foreign contributions and interference in the US election. A statement from the Trump-Vance campaign says the far-left Labour Party has inspired Kamala's dangerous liberal policies and rhetoric. In recent weeks, they've recruited and sent party members to campaign for Kamala in critical battleground states, attempting to influence our election. A now-deleted social media post from a senior Labour official said that there were 10 spots available to travel to the US and that the party would sort housing for volunteers. But Labour officials say activists who have been campaigning for Kamala Harris are doing so in their personal capacity and are not organised or funded by the party.
The Labour Party has played down accusations by Donald Trump's campaign team that it has interfered in the US election by sending volunteers to campaign for Kamala Harris. The Trump team complained to the US Federal Election Commission after Labour members were sent a message on the social media platform LinkedIn asking people to travel to the United States.
It's up to private individuals to choose what they do with their money and their time. It's not unusual for supporters of a party in one country to campaign for a sister party in another country. It happens both way round, as it has done this time, but none of this was organised or funded by the Labour Party, and that's quite proper.
Now, Trump is exacting his retribution in Washington, where the Labour Party is increasingly viewed as an adversary, an entity diametrically opposed to the values that Trump champions, such as national sovereignty, anti-globalism, and economic nationalism. Trump advocates for tax cuts and the revitalization of domestic industry, whereas Starmer's vision aligns with globalist policies and regulatory frameworks that Trump believes undermine national interests. Trump envisions a robust military alliance grounded in strength and mutual respect, whereas Starmer leans toward a more diplomatic, European-style approach characterized by bureaucracy and appeasement. Before we proceed, if you are finding this video insightful, please show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel for more exclusive content on the dynamic shifts occurring in British politics. Let's dive back in. Moreover, Trump is focused on fostering bilateral trade agreements with nationalist leaders such as Italy's Giorgia Meloni and Argentina's Javier Milei. In contrast, Starmer is seen by Trump as little more than a weak, pro-EU, pro-China figure, a leader without the strategic vision necessary to be regarded as a serious ally. Despite Starmer's efforts to remain relevant and win favor through appeasement, it seems clear that such tactics will ultimately fail to sway Trump or shift the trajectory of their strained relationship.
On behalf of His Majesty's Government and the United Kingdom, I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States. For centuries, the relationship between our two nations has been one of collaboration, cooperation, and enduring partnership. It is a uniquely close bond. Together, we have defended the world from tyranny and worked towards our mutual security and prosperity. With President Trump's long-standing affection and historical ties to the United Kingdom, I know that depth of friendship will continue. The United Kingdom and the United States will work together to ensure the success of both our countries and deliver for people on both sides of the Atlantic. Since our first meeting in September, the President and I have spoken about the need to deepen and invest in the transatlantic relationship. We will continue to build upon the unshakable foundations of our historic alliance as we tackle together the global challenges we face and take our partnership to the next level, focused on shared opportunities ahead for growth. I look forward to our next meeting as we continue our shared mission to ensure the peace, prosperity, and security of our two great nations. The special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States will continue to flourish for many years to come.
However, if Keir Starmer wishes to be taken seriously by Donald Trump, he must be prepared to comply with Trump's demands. This would entail not only following Trump's directives, but also aligning his policies with the president's preferences. In essence, Starmer would need to demonstrate a level of flexibility and deference, adjusting his government's stance in accordance with Trump's vision if he hopes to gain any measure of respect or credibility in the eyes of the former president.
I was in government when Trump came in, and this is a foreshadowing for the Prime Minister of what is going to come under a Trump administration. They will be derailed almost every day by something that the President says, or what the White House releases, or a decision that they make that is going to distract from what it is the government wants to talk about. I mean, we had situations in Downing Street where Trump would wander out onto the White House lawn in front of the cameras and say, "Oh, something's happened in the UK, I'm going to go and call Theresa," and suddenly the phone would ring in the Prime Minister's office. "Oh God, the President's on the phone." And this is a foreshadowing for it.
Few events underscored Keir Starmer's political irrelevance more starkly than his conspicuous absence from Donald Trump's second inauguration. While Trump personally extended invitations to prominent right-wing nationalist leaders such as Italy's Giorgia Meloni, Argentina's Javier Milei, and the United Kingdom's Nigel Farage, all of whom understand and align with the evolving political landscape, Starmer was notably absent. To add insult to injury, Trump went further, warmly welcoming Britain's right-wing populist figures. Farage, in particular, was given VIP treatment, attending exclusive Trump-hosted events where he rubbed shoulders with influential Republican donors and key political advisors. This clear gesture of favor toward figures who resonate with Trump's worldview highlighted the widening gulf between Starmer's Labour Party and the emerging political order.
You have a man from Europe, I don't know if he's here, I saw him backstage. What he did was, and what he is doing is sort of what we did a few years ago. He's doing a great job. He's always been my friend for some reason. He liked me, I liked him. And he's shaking it up pretty good over there. He was the big winner of the last election in the UK, and he's a very spectacular man, very highly respected, Nigel Farage. He's a little bit of a...
Do you think you are Britain's Trump?
Not really, no. I think we're very different. But I think we think the same on many things, certainly.
You've spent a lot of time campaigning with him. What have you learned from him?
I think he's learned quite a lot from me. I think it goes both ways, yeah.
What's he learned from you?
Oh, I think he was watching my speeches in the European Parliament for many years.
Really?
Before he decided to run, yes.
He's told you that?
I know that to be true.
However, Keir Starmer's appointment of Peter Mandelson as the UK's ambassador was met with derision behind closed doors. Mandelson, whose name is often associated with the corrupt globalist elite, became a symbol of everything Trump and his supporters oppose. The underlying message was unmistakable. Trump's America does not recognize Starmer's Britain. This is merely the beginning of a broader shift. Trump's grudge against Starmer extends far beyond mere symbolism. It is fundamentally about power and influence. Trump has already signaled his willingness to impose tariffs on allies who fail to align with his vision, and Britain appears to be at the top of that list. The implications of this deteriorating relationship could have profound economic and geopolitical consequences for the UK.
We're going to put tariffs on outside countries and outside people that really mean us harm. They want to, well, they mean us harm, but they basically want to make their country good. Look at what others do. China's a tremendous tariff maker, and India and Brazil and so many countries. And so we're not going to let that happen any longer, because we're going to put America first. Always put America first. That's what's going to happen. We're going to establish a very fair system where money's going to come into our coffers, and America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before.
Now, Trump's economic team is strategically positioning itself to impose aggressive trade demands on the UK, fully aware that Keir Starmer has little to no leverage in Washington. Moreover, Labour's pro-China stance has made Britain an especially attractive target for potential trade retaliation from the United States. Trump views Starmer as a globalist sellout, someone more inclined to forge economic ties with Beijing than with Washington, a perception that further weakens Britain's position. Interestingly, Starmer's desperate push for a UK-US trade deal only serves to strengthen Trump's bargaining power. Trump understands that Starmer will be left with little choice but to accept humiliating terms, all in an effort to avert significant economic harm. Under Trump's leadership, Britain's access to US markets could diminish substantially, a scenario that would spell disaster for the UK economy, and one that will ultimately be laid at Starmer's doorstep.
I will deal with whoever is the President of America.
It's very possible that Donald Trump will return to the White House at the start of the next year. Your team has, I think, quite close links to parts of the Biden administration. Have you had any contact with the Trump team?
Well, look, you're right, we do have close links with the Biden administration. That is very important to us, particularly in terms of our history, our traditions and our values as a Labour Party. But ultimately, later this year, it falls to the American people to decide who they want as their president, and I will deal with whoever is the President of America. The special relationship, the long-standing relationship that we've had, not least on nuclear deterrence, is far stronger than the identity of the next President of the US.
Have you had any outreach or ties with the Trump campaign, the Trump operation so far?
No.
So Keir Starmer, the United States and France are Britain's biggest allies. You become Prime Minister, there could be a world in which Trump and Marine Le Pen are in office. How would you feel about this?
It's for voters in America and France to decide who they want as their leaders. And if I'm privileged enough to come into office to serve this country, I will deal with the leaders of other countries as they've been elected in by those that live there and those that voted them in.
As if Keir Starmer's predicament were not already dire enough, he now finds himself contending with the wrath of one of the most formidable figures in contemporary global politics, Elon Musk. Musk, far more than just a billionaire entrepreneur, is an influential player within Trump's broader political sphere, wielding significant power and influence on the world stage. For months, Musk has used his X platform to relentlessly dismantle Starmer's credibility, targeting key aspects of his leadership. Musk has taken aim at Starmer's failure to effectively address issues such as grooming gangs, his crackdown on free speech and online dissent, and his close alignment with European bureaucrats, positions that Musk believes undermine both British sovereignty and individual liberties. The growing antagonism between Musk and Starmer presents a new and formidable challenge for the Labour leader, further complicating his already precarious political standing.
Why is the guy who is probably the richest man in the world setting out, as he has done, saying that he is going to undermine the British government, that he's trying to get rid of a recently democratically elected government in this country? That is not good,
Barry,
for democracy.
You belong to a party that sent activists to America to actively plot to, and I quote, kill Elon Musk's Twitter. Labour activists in a centre for countering digital hate that was set up by a certain Morgan McSweeney, happens to be Keir Starmer's chief of staff. I wonder why Elon Musk has suddenly got a really strong interest in Keir Starmer and the Labour Party. Because let's be honest, Barry, all of those statements that Labour MPs made about Donald Trump, all of those bizarre statements they made about Elon Musk, guess what? These guys don't really like that. They don't like being abused. They don't like being insulted. So they're going to call you out when you fail, like when you fail with these white working class girls in communities.
Well, look, it is about the richest man in the world trying to undermine democracy. That is wrong. And if you can't see that, Matt, then I would be very surprised.
I've spent more of my time recently looking at how the Labour Party has been undermining free speech and free expression.
On the question of Elon Musk, look, I think most people are more interested in what's going to happen to the NHS, frankly, than what's happening on Twitter. Child sexual exploitation is utterly sickening, utterly sickening. And for many, many years, too many victims have been completely let down by perverse ideas about community relations, or by the idea that institutions must be protected above all else. And they've not been listened to and they've not been heard. Those that are spreading lies and misinformation as far and as wide as possible, they're not interested in victims, they're interested in themselves. Those who are cheerleading Tommy Robinson, not interested in justice. They're supporting a man who went to prison for nearly collapsing a grooming case, a gang grooming case. These are people who are trying to get some kind of vicarious thrill from street violence that people like Tommy Robinson promote. And those attacking Jess Phillips, who I'm proud to call a colleague and a friend, not protecting victims. Jess Phillips has done 1,000 times more than they've even dreamt about when it comes to protecting victims of sexual abuse throughout her entire career. But when the poison of the far right leads to serious threats to Jess Phillips and others, then in my book, a line has been crossed.
Musk's unrelenting public criticism has forced Labour MPs into a defensive posture, scrambling to mitigate the damage. However, the reality remains stark. Musk's influence is vast, and his direct access to Donald Trump only exacerbates Starmer's predicament. Musk has already hinted at pushing for new investigations into Labour's failures, a move that could serve to further embarrass Starmer's government on the global stage. In addition, Musk has openly endorsed Reform UK, thereby lending credibility to Nigel Farage's political movement and cementing its status as a legitimate force within British politics. As of now, Trump and Musk are fully aligned, which means that Starmer's challenges extend beyond confronting a sitting US president. He is now facing one of the wealthiest and most influential individuals in the world, an individual who is increasingly admired by the British public for his bold stance against Starmer.
They want Elon Musk gone, X turned off, and freedom of speech stamped out. Starmer himself has said he's going to look at social media laws in the wake of the riots and even revisit the Online Safety Act. And right on cue, of course, the Westminster elite are now circling. Guardian columnists got their knickers in a twist, saying Musk should be on trial in the UK for inciting the riots. And Keir Starmer's champagne socialist biographer, Tom Baldwin, called for regulation of social media platforms, even saying free speech was not absolute. Make no mistake, the minority racist idiots who caused the worst of these riots have opened the floodgates for a power grab of our civil liberties under this Labour government. And it's a crying shame that it's a US-based South African who's the only one with the balls to stick up for British citizens.
With Donald Trump steadfastly refusing to engage and Elon Musk actively undermining his government, murmurs are increasingly circulating within Westminster about the future of the so-called special relationship under Keir Starmer's leadership. For many within the Labour Party, the answer to this question is clear. The relationship cannot be repaired as long as Starmer remains in power. This is due to the harsh reality that if Starmer continues to lead, Trump will persist in exacting economic retribution on Britain. The UK will remain on Trump's blacklist, perceived as weak, irrelevant, and expendable. The only viable path to restoring ties with Trump's America, according to many, is for Labour to part ways with Starmer and install a leader who is not despised by the White House. As time progresses, an increasing number of Labour MPs are likely to question whether Starmer's continued leadership is worth the long-term damage to Britain's international standing.
Nonetheless, I think there is the possibility of severe turbulence ahead. And, there is a group of very, very powerful, probably they've got the intellectual edge at the moment, the Blairites. And I'm thinking of people like Wes Streeting and lots of his allies, Liz Kendall being one of his allies and stuff, inside, the reformers inside government. And there is the soft left, who would probably gather, as it were, under the Angela Rayner banner these days, I think. But Louise Hay would certainly be part of that instinct. And I just really, really hope they don't go to war with each other. Because if that happens, then I think the British public will say, they're exactly like
The pressing question now is how long it will take for the Labour Party to recognise that the only viable path forward is to part ways with their anti-Trump leader and seek Washington's forgiveness. In this situation, Trump holds all the power, while Starmer appears to possess none. The humiliation of Keir Starmer is only just beginning. What do you think? Will Donald Trump continue to punish Starmer and the Labour Party by undermining the special relationship between the US and the UK? Is it not true that the only way Britain could hope to restore this special relationship would be through the removal of Starmer? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you want to see more videos like this one? If so, please like, share and subscribe to our channel for further updates on British politics and the ever-evolving events shaping it. Until the next video, stay tuned.